Behind my barn there are 17 crops a man can plant one time and never plant again. And between them they feed my whole flock of hens for a year. Grain, greens, and protein. I have not bought a bag of feed in 9 years. 17 crops, plant once. A whole year of feed for free. If you keep chickens, you already know the trap. The feed bag costs more and weighs less every season, and you are back at the store every single week. The Amish never had a feed store to drive to, and the plain truth is you do not need one either. The land already grows everything a hen needs to live and lay. You just have to plant the right things, one time. A crop you plant once and harvest for 20 years owes you nothing. You put it in the ground, it comes back on its own, and the hens do the picking. My name is Levi. My wife Sarah and I work a small Amish farm, the same ground my grandfather worked before me. Before I show you the list, do me one kindness, hit subscribe, because these old ways need somewhere to live after I am gone. That is the only payment I will ever ask. Here is the rule for every crop on this list. You plant it once and it either lives for years or drops its own seed and returns without you. No tilling, no buying, no replanting, and 2 things before we start. One of these 17 is a bush that several states have made it illegal to plant. I will tell you which number and why. And number 1, the last one, outfeeds every other crop on this list combined. Let us count them down from 17. Number 17, field peas. Sow them one time and they fix their own nitrogen straight out of the air. Throw up soft green forage the hens strip all spring and drop pods of protein-rich peas. Let a patch go to seed and it reseeds itself thin every year. Free protein and free fertilizer off the same plant. Sow them thick in the fall and they green up under the first warm sun of spring, weeks before anything else is ready, feeding the flock through that hungry gap when the old grass is gone and the new is not yet up. Number 16, Amaranth. One plant throws a seed head with tens of thousands of tiny seeds, and it self-sows so freely you will never plant it twice. The leaves run near 30% protein, and the seed heads pile a fine grain on top of that. The hens eat the leaf all summer and thresh the seed heads in the fall. The head stands up red and gold and near waist high, so heavy with seed it nods right over, and one good plant will sow a whole patch for next year before you have lifted a finger. Number 15. Sunflowers. Plant 1 row at the edge of the garden and they reseed themselves down the fence line for good. The black oil seed is fat and protein, the fuel a hen burns to stay warm and keep laying through the cold. You bend the heads down in fall, or let the birds knock them to scratch grain growing on a stalk instead of sitting in a sack. Number 14. Chicory. A perennial with a taproot that drives 3 feet down and pulls up minerals nothing else can reach. The hens graze the broad green leaves like little cattle, and that deep root means it shrugs off the drought that browns your grass to straw. In the heat of high summer, when the lawn has gone brown and crisp, the chicory still stands up green and tender, drinking from water your grass will never reach. Plant it once and it feeds for a decade. Number 13. Alfalfa, the queen of the forage crops. Sow it one time and a good stand lasts 5, 6, even 8 years, its roots going down 10 feet and more. It is one of the highest protein greens a chicken can eat, and it greens up earlier and holds later than near anything else in the field. Cut an armful and toss it over the fence and the hens fall on it like a treat, or turn them in to graze it down themselves. Either way it springs right back for the next cutting all season for years. Number 12. White clover, the living carpet. It stays green most of the year, reseeds itself across the whole yard, and pulls nitrogen out of thin air to feed every plant around it. The hens graze it to the dirt and it comes right back. This is the crop that keeps them fed on the ordinary days between the gluts. Stop a moment and count what we have already put in the ground. Peas, grain, deep-rooted greens, and a clover carpet that never quits. We are not even halfway down the list, and we have already rebuilt half the feed bag out of crops that never need planting again. Keep counting with me because the best are still ahead, and so is the one they made illegal. Number 11. Perennial Kale. Most kale dies at the end of the season. Not this one. Tree collard and perennial kale stand for years, throwing tender green leaves you and the hens both cut all winter long when the rest of the garden is bare dirt. A handful of plants feed a flock their greens for 10 years. Number 10. Stinging nettle. I know it stings, but cut it, wilt it or dry it and the sting is gone, and what is left runs around 25% protein, loaded with iron and the kind of deep greens that turn an egg yolk a rich orange. It pushes up thicker every spring from the same root in the damp corner where nothing else will grow. Number 9. Comfrey. If you plant one single thing off this whole list, plant this. Comfrey roots dive 10 feet down. The leaves come back again and again after every cutting at around 20% protein, and it never asks a thing of you. Cut it, drop it, the hens pick at it and the worms finish it. One crown feeds and feeds for 20 years. Number 8. Currants and gooseberries. Waist-high bushes that shrug off shade and cold, drop pounds of small fruit a hen will clean off the cane and live 30 years from a single planting. Tuck them in the spots too dim for anything else and they will still feed your flock. A single mature bush drops 10 or 12 pounds of fruit in a season, and the hens strip every berry that falls to the ground, leaving you the ones up high for the kitchen. Number 7. Elderberry. A big, fast, generous bush that hangs heavy with dark berries in late summer, right when the early fruit is finished. The birds gorge on what falls, and the bush grows back bigger every year from the same roots. Plant a couple along a wet fence line and all but forget them. Number 6. Sea buckthorn. A tough shrub that fixes its own nitrogen and hangs so thick with bright orange berries the branches bend under them. Those berries carry more vitamin C than near any fruit on earth, and they cling on right through the frost, feeding your flock when the snow is already flying. It is thorny and tough as old boots. It takes hold in sand and poor ground where nothing else will grow, and once it roots it sends up suckers that hand you new bushes for free. Before I show you the one they made illegal, if this list is helping you, reach over and tap the like button so it carries to another family still hauling feed bags out of the truck bed every week. That is the only reason I make these. Right, number 5. Autumn olive, the one they banned. Several states have put autumn olive on the outlaw list. You cannot buy it, you cannot sell it, and in some places they will order you to tear it out of the ground. Why? Because it works too well. It fixes its own nitrogen and drops tens of pounds of small red berries a hen will gorge on for weeks. And the honest reason it landed on those lists is not a conspiracy. It grows and seeds so fast that the birds carry it off into the wild and it crowds out the native plants. So if it is legal where you live, it is the most generous shrub on this whole list. If it is not, do not break a law over a berry bush. Which brings me straight to number 4. Number 4. Siberian Pea Shrub, the legal twin of the bush they banned. It fixes the same nitrogen, it is legal everywhere, and it hangs little pods whose seeds run better than a third protein. The hens crack them right off the low branches like a feed bin that never empties. If you can plant only one nitrogen shrub, plant this one. Number 3. Sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes. Put a handful of tubers in the ground one time and you will never be rid of them, and that is exactly what you want. They store their whole harvest underground. A hard frost only sweetens them, and the hens dig them up through the winter when every other crop is dead and gone. This is how you feed a flock in January with nothing in a bag. Number 2. Hazelnut. A bush or a small tree that drops nuts by the bushel every fall, pure fat and protein. The richest feed on this whole list, exactly what a hen needs to put on condition before a hard winter. They crack the small ones themselves and you crush the rest underfoot. One planting, 50 years of nuts. Set a short hedge of them along a fence and you have a windbreak, a screen, and a yearly nut harvest, all from one afternoon's work with a spade. Number 1. The mulberry, the king of the whole list, the one tree that outfeeds everything else combined. A mature mulberry drops fruit for weeks, pounds of it a day, and the hens clean it off the ground like it is candy. But the fruit is the small part. The leaves run north of 20% protein, higher than what is in your sack of layer feed, and the tree throws them down all season long. Plant one mulberry and you have planted a protein factory that runs on sunlight and rain and asks you for nothing. My grandfather planted two. I have never once regretted the ground they take. Now the honest part, because you earned it. None of this is instant. The trees and the shrubs take 2 to 3 years to really start carrying, and that first season is real work, planting, watering, keeping the chickens off the young stock until it roots. In the deep of a hard winter you will still carry a little feed out, and the land grows everything but one thing: calcium. A laying hen still needs crushed oyster shell or her own baked and crushed eggshells for a strong shell, and that costs a few dollars a year. I will not pretend a plant does more than it does. Put even 5 of these 17 in the ground, and watch what happens to the bag you drag home every week. So there are your 17. Do not try to plant them all tomorrow. Start with 3, the mulberry, the comfrey, and a patch of white clover, and add a couple every season. Now these 17 are the what to plant. If you want the how to stack them in layers so the chickens harvest every one of them themselves on half an acre, I laid that whole system out in my food forest video. Watch that one next, because it ties every crop on this list together. And do me a favor before you go. Drop a comment and tell me which of the 17 you are planting first, and what a bag of feed costs you right now where you live. I read every single one. Then subscribe and stay close, because soon I am going to open up the bug bin, a single barrel that grows a pound of live protein a day out of nothing but kitchen scraps. Old ways, real harvests, and remember, the people who fed this country with their own 2 hands knew things about the soil we are only just beginning to remember.